What's happening, people? It's your girl Minna. Welcome back to my channel. You already know what it is. Big up to everyone locked in. Monday afternoon vibes, if you want to say. It's not really evening, but it's not really afternoon. So it's just Monday vibes. Monday vibes. Joined by my bro Marcel. There's a bit to talk about, but before we talk about all the stuff that we can talk about, how you doing, bro? How you been?
I'm good, thank you, Minna. I'm feeling. I just don't know what's going on with the world of football right now, especially when it comes to Manchester United. Like, we're still in this limbo, kind of. We don't know what we're doing. I'm seeing Fabrizio talk here and there about certain things, so I'm just a bit itchy, a bit like agitated. Like, what's going on? What are we gonna do? But I'm feeling optimistic. As soon as we, make this decision, I'm feeling optimistic about the future.
At least someone's feeling optimistic, because I'm not gonna lie. I think a lot of fans are starting to feel a bit frustrated with this, like, being in limbo thing with Erik ten Hag, and the news, whatever this review is that the club's doing. So as of right now, there's no kind of news surrounding Erik ten Hag and his future, or this review that the club are currently undergoing. Now, one thing I think is that they actually don't have to come out and make a statement, because Erik ten Hag is contracted to be the Manchester United manager. So the only way they come out and make a statement is if they're going to get rid of him. And I think no news might be good news for Erik ten Hag. Do you think that as well? Do you think the fact that they ain't come to like a public decision is kind of their way of kind of siding with the manager and saying, you know what, this is the guy we're going to go forward with?
You know what? That's a really good way to look at it, to be honest with you, man. I thought, those reports, just before one of the biggest games of our season was very damning. I was very shook. Like, that was when I was just, and even that week just leading up to it, the season had kind of finished, and we're just kind of waiting for, this big match for us in our season to come up. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what is happening? I'm seeing reports about Tuchel. Okay, I'll pick Tuchel. Or we're talking about this guy. Okay, I'll De Zerbi, Frank. It was just going crazy. And now that's all settled, and people have come to the realization, okay, yeah, we need to trust in Ten Hag. Sometimes no news is really good news, and like you're saying, and I'm hoping that they come to the realization that this is the best.
Oh, it just cut out. Marcel was on a, what's it called? He was spitting a bit of, oh, he's back. I was saying, you were spitting facts and then you just disappeared. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
can you
there's
hear
a
me?
lack of
Yeah,
connection there. But yeah, so
back.
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, so I just feel like we just need to basically get this decision over and done with, and then we can start with the transfers. Whether or not they do need to make a statement, because like I say, everybody within the fan base, the fans, maybe even the club itself, is in limbo. Like, nobody knows what direction we're really going. I think, for the first time in a long time, I'm hearing a lot from players as well, just like statements coming out, them speaking about games and stuff, so they're like, their PR is kind of upped a little bit in terms of them being more vocal about certain things. You're seeing more things from them. So I feel like we're kind of moving into a new era of how Manchester United player might behave. But, we still need a strong statement from who's going to be managing these footballers going forward, especially into next season.
Obviously, we talk about the footballers, and there's talk about all of the footballers. I'm going to start with, I think, one of the most interesting ones was Jose Mourinho, Champions League, speaking about. He spoke about a lot of stuff. Firstly, Jose Mourinho is the new manager of Fenerbahce, which is jokes because he's reunited with Fred. But he was asked about the Jadon Sancho situation. Obviously, commiserations to Sancho and Dortmund, who went on to lose the Champions League game. But he basically. Did you see Mourinho's comments? And if you haven't seen it or you didn't watch the full video, he basically was speaking about Sancho and Ten Hag and the situation. And he basically said, for sure, this kid has made mistakes, but also his manager was not able to get the best out of him. I don't know your thoughts on that, but just in my terms, I do agree with a bit of what Mourinho is saying, especially after the back of Benny McCarthy's interview that he did last week. I don't know if you saw that, but Benny McCarthy was speaking about Erik ten Hag and Sancho's situation, and he basically said Sancho didn't want to apologize, because if he apologized, he would be accepting that everything that Ten Hag said was true, i.e. Being lazy, not training hard, and he didn't want to apologize for that. Let me see what Saeed says. Saeed just sent me something. Let me see what it is. Hold on. Before we get back to it. Oh, Fabrizio Romano posting updates. I told you something might come.
Oh, look at this winner.
I told you it might come out whilst we're live, because you kind of never really know. But apparently, according to Fabrizio Romano on his channel, but this tweet got deleted, I think. No, it's still there. In the last 3-4 days, Manchester United has made contact with agents of other managers. Contacts are active for potential Eric Ten Hag replacements. This week will be crucial. Now, I'll be real. There's not really any new news there, because we know that they have spoken to people's agents. However, he's specifying he's specifying that in the last 3 or 4 days, that they've been making connections and talking to agents of other managers. Now, the way that I say it, guys, is let's just wait until there's actual news. I know there's a lot of hearsay discussion like between journalists and all of that kind of stuff, but let's just wait until there's actually something in the flesh, like live and direct. But back to the topic of Jadon Sancho and Mourinho, Benny McCarthy was saying if he apologized, he would have felt like he was accepting what Ten Hag said about him. But for me, I thought, and this might be where I maybe might have misunderstood it, I thought he was meant to apologize for his statement, not really what he said in the statement, but just for issuing the statement online. What's your thoughts of that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I do agree with that. I think the fact that a player would even issue a statement and the way that they decide to handle it when the manager is saying something to them, I think was very damning. You know, just the fact that he would go publicly and do that. I'm talking about Sancho here. And I think Benny McCarthy said that, you know, he's from the streets. So, you know, that's why that's part of his character and that kind of thing. But when you're on 300k a week and you've become a professional now, you know, the streets have to leave you to a degree, you know, and you have to conduct yourself as a professional. That's how you're going to make it to the top of the top of the top. And especially at Manchester United, I'm not saying completely leave you. You might still want to have a bit of a robust character about you, but, you know, not saying sorry or apologizing to someone that's in the higher stage of authority of you within this massive football club. You're not bigger than the manager, and you never will be. So when you put out that kind of statement undermining the manager, it just doesn't make any sense to me. You immediately have to apologize for that. Who are you to tell the manager that you're not training properly when the manager is the one that's meant to dictate who is training to what level and what requirements? And if you have an issue with said players that he's given favorites to, because by the way, everyone on this planet has favorites. So if you have an issue with that, then you take it up with him in Carrington, in the flipping in the office, the same office that you should have gone into after Ten Hag made that statement about you. By the way, plenty of managers in the same season have complained about their players. Pep's done it, Poch has done it multiple times, but you should have then gone into that same Carrington office and knocked on the door every single day of the following 2 weeks, by the way, which was an international break. So he had 2 weeks after that statement that Ten Hag's made to prove to Ten Hag, free of no games, nothing happening, to then prove to him, yeah, I'm playing to the level. Boss, did you see it? I'm working hard. Boss, did you see it? Tuesday, I'm working hard. Boss, did you see it? Okay. So the way he conducted himself is ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. And I didn't really get to have a full, you know, and an analysis of what Benny McCarthy was trying to say and the opinion of it. He had to explain himself a bit better. I don't think English language is his main language, and just the whole interview as a whole, I would love to properly dive into it and delve into it in terms of what he was trying to say. But it sounded more of a stalemate, but the principle there is still the same. You know, you've undermined a manager massively there by bringing out a statement saying that you did train well. Who are you to say that? You're just a player in a team.
I don't want to be like devil's advocate, but surely he knows, Sancho will know when he's given effort in training sessions and maybe the manager is not receiving it well. This is just me trying to see the other side of it. Maybe, like, because you're saying who is he to say that he's been training well when the manager is the one that's assessing the situation. But sometimes you might feel like you're doing a very good job at something and the reality might be far from it. So maybe that's the case. I know Benny McCarthy did mention about, you know, he spoke about the street code. He mentioned the street code and saying, like, as himself as a black man, you know, he spoke to Sancho so that, like, you know, someone that he can relate to and kind of like confide in. Obviously, if you don't know, Benny McCarthy won't be here next season. his contract's not been renewed, so he'll be leaving. But I just felt it was kind of interesting, the insight that he shared, because I do feel like a lot of this Sancho and versus Ten Hag thing is a direct result of things being lost in translation and being left to they basically allowed things to be interpreted based on how others feel is best. Sancho and Eric Ten Hag. What Eric Ten Hag said was quite straightforward. He said, you know, he hasn't been training well, and you know, players get selected based on training. But I think what Sancho, when he put out that statement, there was a lot of, you could reading between the lines kind of thing. Like you could read that statement that he made, and you and I could draw two different conclusions from it, because it was quite vague in what he was saying. He said, I'm not going to be allowed to be used as a scapegoat, as if he's been, you know, a scapegoat in the past at the club. Do you get it? It's like, it's multiple things he's alluding to. And I think what Jose was saying in the pre-game build-up at the Champions League was interesting. And I'm under that impression too, that yes, it's the player's responsibility to perform and be consistent. But when someone's not doing what they should be doing, isn't it the manager's job to get the best out of him? Is it? Would you say, like, if we went back to that Arsenal game, if Eric Ten Hag had not did what he did, i.e. answer the question in the way that he did, the situation may have played out totally different?
Like we say, there was a 2-week international break, man. So yeah, definitely, you know, the player should have been going in and working on his game. You know, he was playing all pre-season. Why has he not forced his hand into entering into the season, starting every week? So there's it's multifaceted, like what Mourinho was saying. It's multifaceted in terms of why it's not 100% pinpoint reason as to why, but the player, as a player now, the way that you handle that is not by going online. That's just rule number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You don't go online and do that. You go and speak to the player, to the manager in the office, and you guys go and hash it out, and then you come to a conclusion. And you go and do the work during the 2-week international break. You're a player. So the fact that he's handled it in that way, and by the way, even though there's elements of what he said that you can read in between the lines, he categorically said that my training's been fine. That's part of the statement. In the statement, he categorically tells you that his training's been fine. When the manager has, if that happened with Sir Alex Ferguson, the player gets sold immediately. If that happened with Jose Mourinho, the player gets sold immediately. So these kind of things just show me a player that's not got the acumen of a top level mentality footballer. The fact that your manager can even the fact that the manager even has the audacity, you put yourself in a position where a manager can even say this, then you're just not Manchester United creme de la creme level. You're not. How can a manager even put those words upon you? That's madness. So the fact that you got to that position, by the way, you're talking about, you just finished with mentioning about, you know, the manager should, if the player's not playing well, and he's done all of that for Sancho already last season. He gave him 3 months off. Here you go. You know, protection. He brought him on when, I can't remember the first game when he comes back, brings him on. I think Sancho assists. He's talking to him. You know, he's showing him love just before he puts him on and says, "Come on, do your thing now. I've you know, we've rehabilitated. Let's go again." And you're not going to show that manager grace. You're not going to show that manager respect. Madness. Sell him immediately for 20 million. Now
20 million, 20.
now.
Come on, bro. The United could get more for him. United far too long sell players for nothing.
We're about to waste 10 million on paying off a manager that's given us 2 trophies, and you want to keep a player that can't respect the manager, no matter who it is, what they're saying. That you're a player. You keep quiet and do the work. You don't do that. You focus on the game, and unfortunately, we have too much player power. Cannot keep winning like this. At some point, we need it, like how Sir Alex used to have it. So that's my opinion on it.
Did you watch the game on Saturday? Did you watch the Champions League game?
No, I fell asleep after the first half.
Okay, so you missed the 2 goals. Because I watched the game and I felt like Sancho was good in the first half. Second half, I think they moved him to the left-hand side and he kind of was non-existent. He ended up getting subbed off. I think it was like around the 70th, 80th minute. I think he got subbed off. Now there's talk about whether he's going to stay at Dortmund. Dortmund cannot reportedly afford to keep him past another loan spell. So their only other option right now, unless United lower the asking price, is another loan spell, which then they have to kind of agree terms on wage structure and all of that kind of stuff. Now, it's reported as well that Sancho would be interested in coming back to United if Ten Hag is gone. I think, and I said that ages ago. I said one or the like they both can't coexist at the team next season. One of them is going to have to leave, and I don't know which one will leave and which one will kind of stay. But where do you hope to see Jadon Sancho next season?
If he apologizes back at Manchester United Football Club, I've already said it. He's the English Neymar. He's gonna have world-class potential if the mentality's right, which is not. That already looks damning. But if we're gonna allow a player to undermine a manager, that cycle can only potentially can repeat itself whenever he wants, and if he feels like he's training well, and the manager doesn't feel like that, then you're gonna get a conversation from Sancho again. Do you know what I'm saying? That we're just gonna fester that behavior in and around. Other players are gonna look at that and say, well, when I don't think you get it. It just adds it. Everyone thinks they can get away with that now. That's not the right kind of culture that you want to be growing within the club. So I don't really know what Ten Hag's done wrong. He got asked a question by the journalist. Like I said, I think weeks back to you, nasty work by the journalist. But he's been asked a question and he's answered it 100,000% honestly. The reason why I haven't selected X player is because they're doing this. And then the player has the audacity to go and say, nah, I'm doing it. I'm training well. Publicly. He didn't do it privately, publicly. And he hasn't been performing for the club for 2 seasons beyond that anyway. Two seasons before that, he hasn't even done anything for the club. He hasn't won any trophies, hasn't got double figures goals assist at his other club, where they're giving him the number 10 and they've held him at Dortmund previously. And then but when he's come to Man United, nothing. So what's going on? What is going on with the culture at the club?
Yeah, I think there will be a big culture shift now under INEOS. They're calling this week decision week for INEOS. That's what they've called it, decision week. And I'm sure that's what Fabrizio is alluding to as well, the fact that that United have met with 3 or 4 agents of other managers in the last couple of days. Just whilst we move away from that just for a second and we talk about agents, but in a different way, Bruno Fernandes' agent is out and about in Europe, trying to see what the market's saying for him. Now he's got a contract till 2026. I think he's looking for that last big contract. He's not getting any younger in it. So he's trying to get that last big contract before inevitably, he maybe leaves for the MLS or Saudi or whatever. I know that he probably still wants to play in Europe. I know that he could still play at a high level. And as much as we talk about what Bruno has in his shortcomings, he's one of the best creators in Europe. Now, I've seen reports about a price tag flying around. The source I don't really trust, so I'm not really gonna say that price is like the set price. But how much do you think, if United do look for selling Bruno, how much do you think that they sell him for? And do you think United should sell him?
He's the best creator in the world. I just wanted to correct you there. He's the best creator in the world. I obviously had to let you finish, but he's the best creator on the planet. In terms of his value, it's 200 million, and nothing less. Not even a penny less. And in terms of his ability, yeah, it's 200 million. Man, we cannot let him go for anything less than 200 million. I think anything else is just a waste of. We can't replace that. He's irreplaceable. It's priceless type of footballer for the team. Right now, who else can captain Manchester United Football Club right now? There's nobody else. There's nobody right now. Anybody else, it's going to be a difficult period for them. Martinez, maybe, but he looks like, what Varane was looking like a couple of seasons ago, a 60% per season player, so, Martinez might be that next season, God bless. I really hope that's not the case, but he needs to get back into fitness. We need to see how he progresses. He's the only other one that looks like a Manchester United captain. Bruno Fernandes is the out and out captain, at least for the next 2-3 years, while maybe Martinez takes the realm, but we need him. He's priceless for this. You cannot replace if you take away Bruno Fernandes, who else puts in what he puts in for the team? Season in, season out, best creator in the Premier League. He's the best creator on the planet.
But come on, like you're saying 200 mil, bro. I swear that's what Saudi offered for Mbappe in his last year of his contract. And Mbappe is arguably the best player in the world.
Yeah, Mbappe's a very good player. I think the market is obviously, you know, changed now, and you know, the whole globe is inflated in terms of, you know, pound sterling and all these things. So Mbappe's maybe a bit more now, maybe 350, 300 million. You know, we're kind of slowly declining into recession.
Bro, you killed me. You said the pound sterling inflation.
Yeah, yeah. The global market has changed now, obviously. So we've got to consider that when we're talking about Bruno Fernandes as well, and his price will get bumped up.
So considering that, then considering the inflation and all
yeah.
of that, what are you telling me? What's Bruno's price then? Because you just said 200 million, but now you're saying inflation, global monetary funds, all of
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
yeah. Well,
What is
at
his
that
price then?
particular time, you know, that was how many years ago that they offered
It
that
was only
200
last
million.
summer. It was only last
Yeah, yeah.
summer.
So over last year, oh, my gosh, in recessions coming in, you know, the world's gone crazy in the last year. You know, it's moved very fast. And I'm saying Bruno was around what 120, 130 last season, something like that, and now it's easily 70 million on top. When when you throw the captaincy armband on as well, 70 million plus, and never great double figures goals and assists this season as well. I think best chance creator again. It's getting boring now. It's just getting
But do
boring.
you think United should sell him? Because I can't lie, I think it's just he's looking for a new contract. But I think if the opportunity arises, because Bayern Munich is a team he's been heavily linked to, and and Bayern Munich have not really agreed terms with Musiala. His contract's going to finish next year, so they might look to sell him this summer. Obviously, Vincent Company coming in with he might have his own ideas of who he wants. Do you think that Bayern Munich could possibly buy him? And bear in mind, I think Bruno wants to go, because I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago, but there was talks about Bruno, you know, meeting with INEOS to kind of talk about what the plan is for the next couple of years, because he wants to win. This is a guy that has, at his best, what, one league title? That's it.
Yeah,
He hasn't even
look,
got a league. I don't think he's got a league title with Sporting. I don't think he's got a league title. So
nah,
at his
they
best,
won it
he's
after he left.
after he left. So at his best, he's got an FA Cup. Like, this guy needs to win a league title and needs to win a Champions League. So would you be surprised this is just hypothetical, guys, but if you see Bruno going somewhere in Europe, where do you lot see him going? Do you think, you know, Barca got financial problems? Bayern Munich don't really pay big fees for people, unlike, I think Harry Kane might be the anomaly of recent times. Then you look at, you know, could he go back to somewhere in Portugal? Could he go to an Inter, an AC Milan, you know? Where do you think he could go?
Okay, so and I need to go back quickly. Musiala has 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah, I think he's got 1 year. Yeah.
Oh my days! So we need Musiala firstly, but imagine Musiala and Bruno in the same team. Oh my days!
Oh,
Okay, so
he's got 2 years. He's got 2 years left.
okay, because I know Tuchel weren't really utilizing him well, and he wasn't really involved in much the first half of this season or whatever I think it was, or something like that. And then if Company gets him, you know, reinvigorated for this game, then there's an issue. But hopefully we can snap up Musiala. That's a serious baller now.
So
But
would you take Bruno leaving if that means Musiala comes in? Or do you want them
Musiala's
both
not going to
together?
put in that. Musiala's not going to put in that shift like Bruno puts in that shift. You need to kind of just do Bruno has to learn how to play six soon. Anyway, he's getting the legs. Well,
What?
he
Bruno
has to
at a
or
6?
something.
Nah,
Has to.
he's not got the physicality for it.
No, but if we keep the ball, you don't need to. That's the best form of defense is the attack and possession, keeping the ball. So if he can just go to 6, Mainu the 8, Musiala 10, that's wonderful. As his career, as he gets a bit older, when he gets like 33, 34, he's gonna have to be. You can't play in the 10. You're not gonna be running around like that. And then most probably Mainu will be ready. Or if you get Musiala, when we get Musiala. But anyway, so no, Barcelona will take Bruno as a snap of her fingers. What? All that tight, close possession football, tick-a-taka, and then you can see the guy in the free space in the other line, far over there. Bruno's going to see it all day long. Shoop, into the space, 1v1s, problems. So, yeah, no, he can go there. He can go AC Milan. He'll be wicked with Leao. Him and Rashford, but better. Leao's more creative with it and more happy with it and smiling.
Bro, everything that we complain about Rashford with, I swear to God, Milan fans complain about Rafael Leao with.
What do you mean? What, pressing?
Not pressing. His
Blind
chances
alleys?
in front of goals, running into players. He's a better dribbler. I think Rafael Leao is definitely better dribbler. I think pace wise he's better because I do feel like Rashford's lost a touch or two in his pace ever since he's had these injury problems. But from what I see, Milan fans complain about Rafael Leao it's just that Rafael Leao is younger, so there's more room for potential change rather than a 26, 27-year-old.
Listen, I love Rashi, man, but I would right now this version of Rashford, because everyone evolves and changes and they have different, they're living in the moment right now as Rashford. This quote unquote depression Rashford that I'm seeing, I would swap for Leao all day long right now. He's a killer. He's a 1v1 killer. Like, I would definitely swap right now. So, but Rashford mostly goes on to maybe, hopefully, God willing, a better player. But Leao's cold. What?
So out of the two of them, yeah, people complain about it all the time. Like every time I speak, I got two friends that are AC Milan fans, and they like Rafael Leao got a crazy release clause as well in his contract. I think it's 200 million. I think his release clause is like 200 million. But obviously, he's younger, but he's younger than Rashford, so I kind of get it. But just on the topic of Rashford, we've seen talks about him maybe leaving, and then now we're seeing talks about Bruno possibly leaving. Do you think United would make a decision of selling both of them this summer? Because when we say rebuild, that would be a true rebuild, don't you think? As if they sell basically anyone and everyone and bring in whoever they can. Do you see that happening?
That's facts. In terms of, because I think I mentioned to you first. I was insinuating, I think around January, December, I was insinuating that maybe Ten Hag was forced to keep Bruno and Rashford. Like that was maybe, before he came into the club, those two were the ones that kind of the contract, listen, they're getting signed. You better figure out a way to play. Whatever you want to do, these two footballers are here playing. Bruno, had worked hard and earned his contract the season before. And I think Rashford's year was running out or something. So they were always going to get a renewal. It doesn't matter who came in. So I was insinuating that from back then. But to sell them to now would, for me, in my mind, think maybe Ten Hag didn't even want them for that possession style football, because they don't really scream possession football. I think Bruno's slightly started to adapt it a little bit this season, and Rashford's still in this mode where he just doesn't look like he loves football. So I haven't really seen much from him this season, hence the lack of goals, hence, the poor performances, head down every 2 minutes, not really showing love for the game. So he's in a whole different space. But Bruno's been trying to adapt, and Bruno has that captain material about him. But if you sell these two footballers, yeah, you can get in top players now, and you got, a good maybe 200+ million to spend. But again, the break-in time, the settling in time, I guess it would be a rebuild. I can agree with that wholeheartedly. It definitely would be looking like a complete rebuild, and maybe that's the direction to go in. But I think Ten Hag can still do something if you keep one of them.
Okay, that's interesting. People are asking if Marcel's heard the news. Yes, we've spoken about it briefly. That's not really news, by the way. The Fabrizio Romano news. I don't see that as anything new of us, because that's basically like, it just has room for speculation, because we can sit here and talk about, oh, does that mean Ten Hag's gone? I just think the club's probably covering all the possible bases. I don't think there's really much in it. But there is some other news from Fabrizio talking about other stuff, saying that as soon as the manager position is clarified, Manchester United will move for a right-sided centre-back. That will be their first move in the summer transfer window. Now, we've been linked to Todibo the most. Recently, over the last couple of days, we've been linked to Trevor Chalobah from Chelsea with a 25 million fee. I don't want that. But Fabrizio Romano is saying that one of the players that the club is interested in is Sporting Lisbon's Gonzalo Inacio, who has a release clause of 51 million. I've watched him a few times this season, not too much, but it looks like Fabrizio is sharing some updates today with Manchester United. Now, talking about transfers, and probably the discussion I've been seeing the most, Casemiro to Saudi Arabia. This has been a topic, by the way, since last summer, this Casemiro to Saudi Arabia thing. But it looks like it's heating up. It looks like there's some tangible information in it. And it was reported earlier today that Cristiano Ronaldo personally called Casemiro to ask him to come join Al Nassr. Now, Al Nassr is the club that he's been linked to the most. Is it time for him to leave? Yes, I saw a price tag flying around, but again, the source that it came from, I don't feel like it's a reliable source, so I'm not going to share that price tag. But obviously, I think Casemiro will leave Man United. I think it's inevitable. I think if Liverpool could get about 40-ish million for Fabinho when they sold him, then I don't see why United couldn't get the same, if not maybe a bit more, for Casemiro. I think they really need to try and negotiate. I think Casemiro's accepted that his time in Europe is kind of come to an end, and he could just go get the bag in Saudi. But do you think that that's a good option for Man United? And what do you kind of value him at? I've never asked you that. Well, how much do you think United should sell him for?
I don't think we'll get much for him. But it's the Saudi market. They'll have money to spend. I think whatever price you most probably quote them, they'll just say, "Yeah, no problem." Especially if Ronaldo. I think if I'm correct, I think he won the Middle Eastern best player in the world or something like that, or player of the season. So congratulations to him. But if he's calling for his teammate, his ex teammate at Real Madrid to come and support him, um, for his pursuit of trophies there, then most probably the club will go into market for Casemiro. He's not he's declined massively. I remember one of the first interviews Ten Hag had about him saying he's the cement between the bricks. And I think he came on for Elanga in his first game and had a really good game in that game. And even last season, the way that we was playing football suited Casemiro a lot better than to the style of football now. And then even Ten Hag mentioning, throughout the season in terms of the intensity, that the sprints intensity from this season to last season, and the running required from last season to this season, it's just gone a level up, and he's not been able to reach that level. I just think 5 Champions Leagues, but none of them were at Manchester United Football Club, and for me, that's what matters more than any sort of Champions League that he's ever won. So he hasn't shown that 5 Champions League level, unfortunately, at this club anyway. And I think it is time for him to move on. It makes sense. We overpaid. The Edward Woodness, the Murto madness, literally madness, has overpriced these kind of players, and overpaid them for what they're worth at this football club. Sancho at this football club, Casemiro at this football club. It's not been right. So we're gonna take a loss, and maybe 20 million, 25 mil would do it.
Is there any superstars that you think United should target this summer? Because I was watching What the Devil the other day, and you said something so blasphemous that I was like, there's a lot of things you say that doesn't surprise me, but that you said Mbappe to United, take that number 7 shirt off. Even though everyone, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but I think everyone knew he was going to Real Madrid. It's apparently going to be announced today. But do you think that there's any star that United should go for, or should United move away from signing stars and just try sign a bunch of role players?
Wow, it's a good question. I mean, I'm blaming iShowSpeed for that. He convinced me that Mbappe was definitely coming.
You used iShowSpeed as your source.
Yeah, I know, madness. But I generally thought, what, if he's not going Real Madrid, he swore by it. He said he's not going Real Madrid. So I thought, okay, Man United looks like the best one. If you're not going Real Madrid, who else would you want to go to other than Manchester United? It had to be Manchester United that you're going to. But okay, yeah, that didn't happen, and that falls through. Such is life. But in terms of superstars now, man, I just don't think we can really go into that market. If you get rid of Rashi and Bruno, you're freeing up a lot of money, and then maybe you do look at that. But I think this season, if we're being smart, you gotta take a few hits. You gotta take a few hits in the market, in terms of the outgoings, and that's like the strongest part of our season. Really, our transfer window has to be 10 outgoings. If it's not 10 outgoings, it won't be a good season.
10 outgoings for that are for decent fees, or because we've already had how many? We've already got Varane outgoing, Martial outgoing. We've got people leaving on free agents, free agents, and then we've got younger players possibly leaving, like Brandon Williams will be leaving. We might have Kundo Palestri leaving. Alvaro Fernandez has already been announced that he's leaving. So when you say 10, do you mean 10 as a whole of players, or 10 that were part of this season?
I'm going to say 10 as a whole, Mina. I think, our squad, when you look at it, it's extremely bang average. When you look at Chelsea's squad, it's got they finished poorly this season, but it's really strong, and it's a really good quality young player squad. When you look at Newcastle, it's a good team further into their process against us. When you look at Villa, I feel like I was saying it after, I think, even when we won against them away from home, I looked at their squad and I said, they got a better squad than us. I really genuinely believe that. So when I'm looking at our squad of players, and then obviously you got the top 4 or top 3, let's say, they're so superior in terms of their squad. That first team, everybody's top level, and we just don't look anywhere near that. So unless you're going to put young players in there, those meaty players, for want of a better word, Van der Beek, Pelesh, Facundo, who's got high potential, but it's coming into that bracket where I've got a lot of younger high potentials. You're not going to have to share all those minutes. So even Scott should be sold seasons ago. Maguire should have been sold seasons ago. Ericsson has to go. A lot of players, they just have to unfortunately move on if we want to upregulate the quality of man for man, position for position, top level. Right now, though, while we're in this process, we can't buy the world-class players to get the top level player. Give me the high potential ones. That's why Dan Ashraf is meant to be in here, the data man, to be able to find me, okay, yeah, this player goes up in 20 million in the next 2 seasons or so, has high potential. The recruitment for the director of football, in terms of Wilcox. Again, he's someone where he's won the Premier League. He's meant to be advising Ten Hag and saying, yeah, your idea on such and such a player, it's not going to work. Malacia's been all right, but Amrabat maybe, and even Amrabat showing the level. I don't think Ten Hag's talent ID was very, very poor. It's just, it came under a few injuries, in terms of Amrabat and adjusting and adapting to the league maybe. And I think a few of them as well were adjusting and adapting to the league, but Ericsson wasn't a good decision, declining all the time. Casemiro, not a great decision as well, declining all the time. So there's things there. Anthony, extremely poor decision from Ten Hag. But as long as you've got someone like Wilcox alongside him, there's potential for him to be able to have someone to liaise with. That's a Premier League level player. I've won the Premier League. I know what that requires. Let's go forward with this decision. And then Omar Barada, always, hungry to change it every 2 years or so, or review it every 2 years. And then you've got Laurent Blanc, who's going to be great in terms of football enterprise and business, raising the profile of our club, and maybe doing good deals with someone like PSG or something. They've got a few good players that would maybe get less minutes or game time, and hopefully we can do something there. But the fact, Mina, that, I think at least, 50 or 40% of Ten Hag signings were free signings or loans, just shows the level of what they were. Or if you look at
50% is quite high. 40-50% is quite high.
If you look at all the signings that he made, it's you can just see it. The majority of that, or at least 40%, was free signings or loan signings.
Loan signings: Weghorst, Amrabat, Sabitzer, Ericsson, free. That's it.
Yeah, then free signings. Sorry.
Yeah, Ericsson was the only free signing that we had.
Yeah, Ericsson, and then what was the loan signings?
Weghorst, Sabitzer, Amrabat.
Yeah, and Amrabat. And how many signings has he made throughout his tenure at the club? So that's 4 players.
That's 4 players: Onana, Mount, Højlund, Bayinda. Oh shit! I forgot Reguilon was a loan signing. Sorry.
Yeah, Reguilon and Evans as well. I think was that
Johnny free? Evans. No, he was free. Yeah, then you might be right. You might be right.
I know. You're right. I know. So that's about 6 players, and he put that. Think about it. When we really realized what happened to us, he had like 6 footballers.
Guys, Marcel's actually right. Dubravka was a loan signing.
Yeah. Imagine what Ten Hag's had to do, Minna. Ten Hag has had to. He's worked wonders, and we're big Manchester United apparently. What we are, but it's like our level of what we are, it has to come into reality, and we didn't put that in with the calculations everyone was doing. But he's had a bag of free signings and loan signings to work and we expected what? To win Premier Leagues, and to say that we have a good squad. We are an 8th place squad. That's literally what we are. We are an 8th to 6th to 5th place squad.
But should we be an 8th place squad or when we've spent 400 million in 2 windows? Because let me just quickly interject there, because I saw quotes from Erik Ten Hag talking about his recruitment strategy in the last couple of years, and he was saying, well, it's not, you can't blame me, because he said I don't do the negotiating, I'm not the one that overspends, I give my targets, and there's people in the club that have that role to do that. But should we be an 8th place team for all of that?
So he's right. It's not so. Even the lack of efficiency in the market, especially, we wanted Frankie de Jong, took long. We wanted Timber first, it Martinez. We wanted Kim Min-jae, it was somebody else. Like, the efficiency in the market And we're seeing that poison or that lack of efficiency happen again before our very eyes, man. Okay, yeah, the window hasn't opened, I don't think. So that's I can add that in there. But I'm seeing Chelsea Football Club go and get Tosin, who was on the free, who I'm pretty sure we was linked to him last month.
Yeah.
So that's the little wins that you can get as a Manchester United structure, and just have him in the squad. And now you can get rid of Lindelof, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Do you get it? It's just little things like that that you do that makes you give better wins, that makes you look more prowess in the market. Little bit, that's wages. That's a job on wages. And now you've got a player that looks better, a little bit better for the system, a little bit more robust than Lindelof. You're a little bit closer in the process. But instead, we're deliberating, hiberating, liberating, shiberating, and it's not making sense. So it just doesn't make sense now. We're behind in the process now, Minna. And now Chelsea Football Club, who've got Disasi, who have got Fafana, who have got Cowell, who have got whoever. I'm pretty sure they got like 6 centre backs. They're now about to get a 7th. Wow. And we're Manchester United with Lindelof, that's a top 10 centre back. Maguire, 10th place centre back. I'm just naming 10th place centre backs. They're not going to win you first, second, third, or fourth. So I really do need to be director of football. And I'll be giving everyone the rocket every single week, every single day. The man's on holiday, so I'm giving them that grace. He deserves a holiday. Like I said, he deserves a holiday. Ten Hag actually deserves his holiday. What he's had to deal with, he deserves his holiday. But he should be back Tuesday or Wednesday, and that's when they should be announcing. Like you said, though, Mina, I really like the way that you put it to me, because it makes sense. He's contracted for 3 seasons, and like I said, they should do the gentleman's thing and let him do his work for the first season. Leave him alone. He's obsessed with the club. He's obsessed with. He rode a bike around the city just to get the feel of the people. He's a madman.
I don't think that's what he did. I don't think he rode a bike around Manchester just to get a feel of the city. Bro, he comes from the Netherlands. Them man ride bikes everywhere. I don't think he did it to connect with the city.
Okay, that's okay. I understand. That's my opinion against yours, though, man. But trust me, that's why he done it. Trust me, that's why he done it. And for me, that's like this. It's just part of what makes a manager special. They do these little 1%, and he's in that category for me. He really is. We'll be making a massive mistake to let him go. I think we've done him a disservice in terms of the old structure, and now the new structure are deliberating. The worst thing they could do is drag their heels on little wins. There's Ross Barkley on a free. Again, when we're talking about not the top bracket, but he's a little bit of an upgrade on Eriksen.
He's going to Villa, by the way. They announced it. Fabrizio announced it today that here we go. He's going to Aston Villa, which I think he's a good signing. I tweeted it saying this is low risk, low reward. There's a good depth to have, good quality as well. Even if he's not starter quality, it's definitely someone that you could have coming off the bench. I think it's 5 million. He said that he's going for. Obviously, Luton's gone down, so that they need to make money somehow. But I do agree with you on that part. Where it's Ross Barkley. We're talking about Ross Barkley from Luton Town. Is now going to Aston Villa, and they actually did this last year with Tielemans. They went to Leicester and got Tielemans on a free.
We were talking about that last season from Leicester. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because, like I said earlier in the stream, I think no news is good news for Erik ten Hag, but also INEOS don't owe anybody anything to come out and make a statement. The only statement they could possibly make is just continuing with the season or the off season as they have been. I think because everyone's expecting some news, because INEOS have never come out and said we are reviewing Erik ten Hag's situation. They've never come out and said that. So technically they don't owe anyone an explanation unless he's leaving. And then that is when we will hear the news that they've parted ways. That's it. That's the only. If Erik ten Hag stays, and you know what? I hope they do this just to show that they don't owe anyone anything. I hope they don't make a statement, because they don't need to come out and say we are continuing with Erik ten Hag for the rest of next season. He's contracted to be here next season. The only reason you should come out and say something is if you're parting ways. I've never seen all this stuff about the review and all of that, by the way, that's tabloid talk. It's paper talk. It's just journalists reporting that from their sources. However, I will flip it and be like, you know what? For all the stuff that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been doing over the last couple of months. He's been doing a lot of interviews to do with Manchester United, to do with cycling, to do with the economy, all of that stuff. And he's been asked about Manchester United. He's never come out and said, we back the manager. And I think that would have made a big statement for Eric Ten Hag, for him to know publicly he has the backing, especially when after the FA Cup he came out and he kind of fired shots at the media saying that you lot have targeted me and, you know, and my players throughout the entire season. I think it would have been nice, but doesn't that kind of suggest to you that maybe he doesn't have the backing? Maybe maybe they're not fully sold on him. I already said my piece in it. I said my piece last week on stream. I said I genuinely think that if Eric Ten Hag stays, it's because the manager that they want is not available. And I think the manager they want is Southgate. I've seen Graham Potter being linked to the Leicester job. Everything's just moving at like 200 miles per an hour. And with this Eric Ten Hag thing, I think because everyone's anticipating news, the media is kind of running with that, and they keep coming out saying, oh, an announcement can be made this week. The review is going to end this week. INEOS will make their decision. Oh, they've met with 3 or 4 agents of other managers. You know, maybe they're not feeling Eric Ten Hag, blah, 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 blah. Really and truly, they don't owe a shit when it comes to an announcement of Eric Ten Hag. If they do decide to keep him, I hope they just continue business as usual.
Agreed. And I think Ten Hag would want it that way as well. I think, you know, he credited a lot of that victory to just the club, the structure, and the fans. So I think he would want it as business as usual. He just needed his break. In terms of who they want as their guy, I agree with that narrative as well. I also believed in what you were saying like months ago, where it was like if they're changing everything else, including now Ten Hag's coaches, by the way, because McCarthy was one of his appointments, you know, then definitely they would have their own person in mind. But maybe you're right, and I do believe I could see us maybe playing out the third season. They're being extremely rash or harsh on Ten Hag in the third season. And they will be ready to switch him out for a Southgate. I do actually see that. I've said it before. I've tweeted it before in terms of, you know, it could be Southgate in the third, you know, in the fourth season after Ten Hag's third. It really could be Southgate. It could be their person that they want, which would be, you know, very much bland football or conservative football, basic 4-2-3-1, extremely conservative. But in terms of getting world-class players or building towards world-class players within that system of a basic 4-2-3-1, it could work if you get the world-class players, you know, over time or over years, and there's a process to it. So let's see what happens. But I think Ten Hag, maybe if you allow him into the third season, he has a brilliant third season and earns a 2-year contract.
Do you truly think that? Because Eric Ten Hag himself has said that next season, basically the limit is top 4. This team, the players that he has, even with a transfer window, top 4 is the limit. Do you genuinely think that he's going to be able to? Because you said it. You said he's going to bring us Prems, he's going to bring us Champions Leagues, all of that stuff. But is it really like do you genuinely believe it? Do you genuinely believe it? Because you're saying right now, and that's why I can't really kind of comprehend, is that right now you're saying if he's given that one more year, he's going to take us to the top. But he himself has said he's not doing that. That top 4 is where we're at.
Yeah. So he sees it as a project, and in this stage of the project, you know, the third season of it, a halted second season, evidently, you know, halted in terms of the progress of the project. But the third season, we are still in that top 4 frame. You know, I just said previously, the streamer, you know, it was when 8th place squad, were 8th to 6th to 5th place squad. So we're definitely, you know, he will be overachieving again once he gets us 3rd position or 4th position next season, but with a healthier, more robust squad. The way that he plays football, extremely suffocating for any opponent. And I think the way that he garners the next levels out of certain players, especially when everyone's fit, I think will be brilliant next season as well. So we're expecting top 4. There's no the expectation of the club still has to remain to a good enough standard, which is competing for the top 4. There's about 6 teams that feel like they have the divine right for that position, so it will be difficult next season, but we're going to be amongst that group. And then a trophy as well that still has to be there. And I know that INEOS will let go of him anyway if he doesn't deliver those 2 things. So if he doesn't get a trophy next season and doesn't deliver top 4 or both of those things together, he will most probably have to walk, and it will be Southgate. But or De Zerbi. I would really, if they get rid of him now and they put De Zerbi in the seat, I'll be extremely happy. You know, it'll only be one day. It'll be only a couple hours of mourning, a couple hours of crying. Because I remember saying to you, I will be crying. I remember Saeed mentioned it as well. I will cry if Ten Hag leaves. And in a few days' time, I will definitely cry. But it would only be a few hours. But if they get rid of Ten Hag and they put Tuchel, or South now, it's gonna be a headache. It's just gonna be a rubbish season next season. Ten Hag knows who needs to leave, man.
I think if Ten Hag stays, I'm sorry, but top 4 is not enough. Like United are not like we used to take the piss out of Arsenal for top 4 being the aim. United should never be aiming for top 4, whether or not we feel like title or nothing. Maybe because I'm spoiled and I grew up in the era of Sir Alex Ferguson, so I'm a little bit spoiled. But there is no way that United should be happy with consistently falling in and around or underneath that top 4 space and being happy with a domestic cup here and there. I think next year I look at the Europa League. United need to win that. Yep. There is no reason. Sevilla are not in it. The bane of our existence is Sevilla. Yeah, they are not in it. United should win Europa League next year, easily. And top 4 for me is not the shout. If you say to me a top 3 and just like kind of disrupt the cities and the Arsenal and whoever else is around that place, okay, cool. But we should never be saying top 4, top 6, and a trophy is not in the first year of your project, not in the second year of your project, not in the third year of your project. That is not acceptable because that Manchester United were never that. We're not that level. We're not that level.
Can I just explain it to you then, Mina? We look at City's squad. Are we better? Is our squad better than City's, Mina? It's not.
No, because bro, they got that out of money. Pep is lucky enough to buy a player for 80 million. It don't work out. Sell him. You get another player for 90 million. Pep is lucky to do that. He's fortunate enough. These lot are buffing up their books, bro. You can't compare us to City. Yeah. These managers getting sponsorships from left, right, center from Arab countries, Arab companies that have just been created 2 days ago that probably have some link to the sheikh. Like they're lucky. They got the money like that. So Pep can afford to do
one
that.
team. That's one team. And I'll be honest with you, it's not even 80 million. They've planned that from years ago, just like how we've had businessmen rubbish our team from years ago and make it harder and harder for us to be effective in the market. And now we've got all this English chat. They only really go for £50 million players and then recycle it because that's how efficient these the Man City have been. So that's one team. Now Liverpool, do we have a better squad than Liverpool?
I could say we should, yeah. Maybe in individual positions, they got better players than us, you know, Mohamed Salah, Van Dijk, etc. But everything else, Alisson, you can kind of argue it. It's up for there's room for debate. But they just went in the summer and brought Szoboszlai for 80 million. No one's talking about him and how he's not had a good thing.
No, I hear you. So then that's a stalemate there. But there was two. That's City. Well, do you have a better squad than Arsenal?
We have a better squad than Arsenal. But when you say better squad, are you saying like man for man or for what we've been this season? Because I could turn around and say, you know what, Casemiro should be better than Partey, but he hasn't been.
Well, see, I'm not doing shoulda, woulda, coulda, hoodies. I'm saying the whole squad, player for when you look at the squad, not forget what happened this season. Human being for human being.
Human being. Nah. Arsenal, City got better squads than us.
Okay.
I think
Chelsea.
Everyone else,
Chelsea have better human beings?
No.
You don't think so?
No. Because I think experience comes into it as well. I think Chelsea have a very raw, talented team. They have a bunch of talents together, and they still haven't figured out who fits where. And I think that's what Poch was struggling with throughout the season. That's why I'm interested to see what their manager does with them right now. I'm interested to see because they've spent 1 billion on what I could tell you. I don't even know. Who did they spend 1 billion on? Who Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia. I haven't even seen him. Is he actually at Chelsea? Is he actually a Chelsea player? Because I haven't seen him. Then they've brought in Badashili. They brought in Disasi. They brought in about 3 other right wingers that all look alike.
Nkunku and Palmer, though.
Nkunku, Palmer, okay. Nicholas Jackson. Sterling is not the Raheem Sterling that he used to be. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but he's better than Anthony. He's better than Anthony.
Gallagher, nah.
He's better than Scott McTominay.
What's the fullbacks called? Chilwell.
Gusto, actually no, but I don't think
Gusto's
Gusto's
good.
better than Delo or Wambi. Maybe. Reece James when he's fit.
No, but then what? We're not doing shoulda, woulda, couldas. He's not fit. The guy's not fit. The guy can't stay fit. That's why I could never put him in any sort of debate, unfortunately. But Malo Gusto is good. Chelsea, I think, when we say on paper, United have a good team. We had Varane, we had Martinez, we had Luke Shaw, we had Dallo, we had Onana, we had, Kobe Mainoo, Casemiro, Ericsson, who just fell off a cliff this season. No one talks about that, by the way that Ericsson just fell off. Last year, we were singing his praise. This season, he had an injury and he's just never been the same. He's never been the same, but no one talks about that. Then we've got Garnacho, we've got Rashford, again, impacted by this little, I don't know what you want to call it, this struggle that he's been going through. Rasmus Højlund, Anthony Martial, for me, I thought this year would have been that bow out season for him, leave on a high. Unfortunately, it just didn't really work out. But bear in mind, bro, we're talking about a team that I'm saying I don't know what Chelsea spent $1 billion on. What the fuck did Man United spend 400 million on? Excuse my language, but what the hell? Like, the fact that we're still saying that we can't even go toe to toe with teams that are clearly United should be better than. But we've spent 400 million. Where's that? It's like, when your mom gives you money and you go out, you go shopping, and then you come home with like one pair of trainers, and your mom's like, where's all the money I gave you? What did you do with it? And you're like, oh, I brought this. And your mom doesn't understand how you can buy one pair of trainers from all the money that she gave you. This is how I feel right now. I'm looking at the team and I'm like, bro, where's all the money gone? And it's unfortunate because now INEOS are going to turn around and they're already looking at Anthony and saying, yep, you need to go. Sancho, yeah, you need to go. We just brought you guys in less than 2-3 years ago. You are meant to be part of the future.
See, the thing is though, what mum doesn't realize is that she's still in yesteryear. So she thinks that £50 is going to be able to reach, and you can go £10, £10 shoe, £10 shoe, and it's nice. No, inflation's kicked in. So it's now that 400 million gets you only a bag of chips and 2 pieces of fish and chips. That's it. And £50 spent. That's the real issue that's going on with our club right now. That's why Chelsea have to run up $1 billion just to get and do the 10-year bird contracts, because that's what's going on. The inflation's really kicked in the world of football right now. But in terms of Manchester United, we need to be shopping at Lidl right now. And Netto. There needs to be a shop called Netto.
I ain't heard of Netto in years. I used to shop there. We used to shop there in the 90s, bro. We used to shop there in the 90s. I don't know where Netto's gone. There used to be one in the ends. I don't know where it's gone, though.
It's
there used
gone,
to be one in the ends.
It's gone. It's gone. But we need to be shopping in Nettos now. Do you get it? And the best quality that you can, the finest of quality, but in Nettos. And that's why we've got Dan Ashworth and Wilcox in. And with Ten Hag, with the company of Ten Hag, you need it. Someone said it's still there in Germany. Shout out Germany. They're struggling. But we need Nettos. That's what we need.
What you say? We're too busy trying to shop in M&S when we should be shopping in Netto, basically.
And we've got children doing it. The Glazers are like kids doing it. Do you get it? They're doing Waitrose shopping at all this thing, and they don't have no clue what they're looking at when they're trying to buy. That's the issue right now. So, and now we finally got these people that actually know what they're trying to do, but they're taking too long because the pressure is very high. It's extremely high. We have to make the right decisions. So it's extremely high, and they're thinking, this can impact us for a couple of years if we don't. If we change it now, clear everything now, this is going to impact us for years. If we keep it now, this is going to impact us for years. So it's a difficult decision to make, but Ten Hag's still been able to garner success even through this difficult time. You have to keep him. It's the players that need to go, Mina. So I really hope that they come and see sense here, because like I was going to go on to ask you about Aston Villa's squad. I was going to go on to ask you about Spurs' squad. And for me, all of these teams, 4 or 5 teams, Mina, in the Premier League, they're all better than our squad when I look at our players versus Spurs players. Even rubbish old Spurs, Mina. Even just newly, hello, Aston Villa, Milla. They're just new. They're new. Next season, they're going to have headache and they're going to be gone again. But even them, new as they got a better squad than us. They just do. When you look at player for player, they just do, in my opinion. So we're struggling right now for quality. So, yeah.
Guys, W is in the chat for Nubian Pharaoh. I think Nubian, I don't think he likes me, bro. I think he likes you, because every time I'm on stream with you, Nubian Pharaoh comes through with a big super chat every single time. Cash money. W's in the chat. Make sure you don't like the super chat as well, because you can like on super chats now, apparently. Nubian says, keep up the good work, folks. Big up to Nubian. I know he's just like you or she. I don't know if Nubian. I'm actually Nubian Pharaoh. That means it's a man. He is a big Eric Ten Hag in fan. I know that for a fact from what I've gathered, which is why I think he fucks with you heavy. He fucks with you heavy. But big up to Nubian with the super chat. I appreciate the contribution. I actually haven't even plugged it, but guys, join the membership club if you want. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content as well, and you get to support the growth of the channel. Where else do you get to see Marcel just rhyming random words together? You don't really get to see that in any other places. But before we actually wrap it up, because I'm late for another stream, I got a question to ask. Do you think that we'll get some news this week? And let me know, guys, in the chat. Do you think we'll have some news about Eric Ten Hag's future and where INEOS stand with him this week? And if they decide to part ways with Eric Ten Hag, do you think we will have a new announcement immediately for the new manager?
Yeah, I think both as in yes. So this week is the week, and the new manager will be coming in as soon as possible. I think they need to get the ball rolling, and they need to show us that they're efficient. And they're completely different from the Glazonomics that was there last season. So yes and yes. This week's going to be a very, very interesting week, and everyone should be really looking forward to this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think this week, I'm hoping, I don't know, I feel like because Euros are starting in less than 2 weeks, so I'm hoping that there's some news by this week. And I think if there is a new manager, I think he'll be announced immediately. I think they will not announce Eric Ten Hag departing until they've kind of signed everything off with the new manager. I really think that's how it's going to be. Whether or not that happens, we never know, because we don't really know what's going to happen with United, especially with INEOS. I tried to remain a bit optimistic with them, but my patience is a bit thin right now. I can't lie. My patience is a bit thin. Just quickly though, but I actually didn't ask you. What do you think about Trevor Chalobah and the links to him?
Waste of money consider Tosin, but very adaptable footballer. Can play right back, can play right back, can play right back, can play central defensive mid if you want him to, can play left centre back, can play right centre back if you want him to. Very adaptable, and you can utilize that. I know Ten Hag likes positional rotation, tall in terms of stature, got a bit more recovery pace than Maguire, but waste of money. Why didn't you go into the market and get the free player at Manchester United? Why would we now have to go and spend 25 million? Please don't spend the 25 million outright. Please do it in increments, season by season. Maybe do 5 million now, then another 5 million, do it in increments of 5 or something. Don't give them the whole 25 million. We don't have a lot of money to spend.
And they need the money. Chelsea need to sell players before the 30th of June as well, similar to like Everton, etc. But guys, big up to everyone locked in as always. Minna and Marcel here. I don't think there's the full view today, so this is like your own version of the full view. Marcel, man, let them know where they can find you. And are you making a channel? Are you gonna make a channel?
This summer I would do it, because if they keep Ten Hag, I'll definitely do it. But this summer I think I have to do it. So this summer, inshallah, I'm gonna do it at some point. But yeah, man, Marcel 11 or 10 on Twitter right now. That's what it is. And Moments of Marcel on TikTok, but I don't really use TikTok much. So Marcel 11 or 10 on Twitter.
If you don't want to find Marcel, listen, he will not disappoint with the content, with the stuff that he puts on Twitter. If you don't think what's here is funny, Twitter is 10 times more funny. Big up to everyone in the chat. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. We are less than 15 away from 100 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, just slap like on the video. Make sure to check out my recent vlog, Champions League final. What a vibe, man. Make sure you lot go check that out as well. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. Stick around if you want to, because I'm going to be live on Saeed's channel. I think they've already gone live. I'm late for the podcast. So stick around. I'll redirect you lot over there. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow as always here on the channel, guys. I'm out. Big up to my bro Marcel, man. Always. Yeah, hit the like button and I'll see you in a couple minutes on Saeed's channel, guys. Peace.